Hi, I'm Adam Loveridge with Job Calls, and stay right here because in this video, I'm going to show you a very simple and profitable way to generate pre-qualified, pre-sold, ready to schedule phone calls from customers in your area that need heating and air conditioning help and need it right away, okay? So whether you're new to the HVAC lead generation side of things or you're a seasoned pro, I'm going to be giving you some kind of valuable insights and insider secrets anyway, on number one, how to really analyze your return on investment from HVAC lead generation. Because, after all, it's really, at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is, are we making money from our advertising, right? I'm also going to cover some of the key marketing metrics that you should understand, whether you're, doing your own lead generation in-house, you're looking at pay per call through a company like ours, or maybe non-exclusive leads from, say, Home Advisor or Porch and some of these others. And last but not least, I'm going to give you a kind of a handy tool then that you can use to really analyze your return on investment if you're looking into HVAC lead generation, and help you just kind of get the ultimately the best deal possible when it comes to structuring those deals anyway. So if it's all right, let me go ahead and jump in. I'm just going to give you a little background information here on Job Calls and me anyway. So like I said, my name is Adam Loveridge. I'm the general manager and CEO of Job Calls. And for the last 5 years, we've been driving inbound phone leads from digital marketing channels for heating and air conditioning contractors. We're located in Park City, Utah. Up here on the mountain anyway, and this is where they have the Sundance Film Festival every year anyway. But I'm just going to kind of jump in really quick and show you kind of some of what we've seen in terms of results in the years that we've been doing some of this. So this is a group in about 100,000 population area, and we've done 905 qualified leads over 2 years. These guys usually book at about an 87% service booking rate into actual repair jobs, and are usually doing around 72% close ratio anyway on install leads that are coming from these efforts here anyway. This is another one that we started back in early October, actually late September of 2015. And you can kind of see the spin up here in terms of call volume coming in, and that one's done 309 qualified leads in 10 months, or about 30 calls a month on average. They're booking at 82% in terms of their repair calls, and closing about 67% of their installations there anyway. And then this is a more recent lead generation deal that we signed a buyer for here, and during June and July generated 140 qualified leads. Now, at the time, they weren't expecting that, and we're kind of like drinking from a fire hose a little bit, and we're only booking at about 65% of their repair calls due to scheduling challenges. We've since been able to get that worked out. And they're booking kind of closer to that 85% mark, and they're not currently paying for exclusive install leads, so I don't really have a track record on that. But these are the types of results that we see fairly frequently with our clients and customers anyway. A little bit of customer feedback here, that we've picked up just over the last couple of years here anyway. And you can certainly go out and search for Job Calls at 170 Lower Evergreen Drive in Park City, and read reviews for yourself. So let's talk about one of the biggest challenges that I've certainly seen in the HVAC business, and that is that HVAC advertising can be expensive and also unpredictable. Okay, so for a lot of smaller shops, guys with a single truck or maybe just one tech or whatever, going out and spending thousands of dollars a month in advertising with no guarantee of any leads or any sales can be really a tough pill to swallow. And if you've bridged that gap and you're running a larger, more successful company, a lot of the established HVAC contractors out there, maybe you've experienced this, are really disillusioned by what we like to call SEO monkeys, right? And other fly-by-night companies. And these are the guys that want to take a few $1,000s a month with no real guarantee of results, and they'll stick around just long enough for you to fire them and are never to be found again anyway. And then lastly, another sort of underlying challenge that we've seen, at least in the HVAC business, and for those companies that have gone out and successfully marketed themselves, a lot of times these types of clients will pay for leads that they can't convert during peak AC season and sometimes the heating season, just simply because they just don't have the scheduling capacity. And so what we've tried to do is develop a solution for that, and we do that through pay per call HVAC leads. And we'll talk a little bit more about why I have qualified written in there here in just a little bit. But the long and short of it is that we do have to look at the qualification of those calls anyway, and we'll dive into that a little bit later. But really, our goal here is that any HVAC contract with at least $1,000 a month budget can make $9,000 to $12,000 back in revenue, and can do that without without really any of the associated risk of going out and doing digital advertising or any other types of advertising for that matter. Our other goal is to really just eliminate that kind of inherent risk in SEO and other digital advertising, and really just transfer that to job calls, and let us rely on our experience and tenure, if you will, in this particular side of things, and just queuing up qualified opportunities. So by working with preferred and backup contractors in a local area, HVAC business owners don't pay for leads that they can't convert due to scheduling issues, meaning that we're able to kind of spread that volume out in those little peaks, if you will, so that you're not getting overwhelmed or frankly paying for calls that you just can't convert on because you're scheduling a week out, as an example. And our end goal here is really to set a higher industry standard on what should be considered a qualified lead. And that's really what we've done at job calls in dozens of communities across the United States. So to really understand, I think, this whole thing, and before we jump into pricing and other fundamentals, let's really talk about how pay per call works. And I get asked all the time, how do you guys source your leads? Where do you get your leads from? And how does this all work? And so I'm going to just kind of debunk the whole myth right now anyway, and just jump right into it. So to start off with, though, I want to ask you a question, and that is, does your business name start with A? Okay, maybe it's AAA, maybe it's AB, like Absolute, HVAC or something along those lines. But if it does, it's because that for a long time, consumers have gone to the yellow pages to find local HVAC contractors. They called the first listing and kind of went down the line until they could find somebody that actually number one, answer the phone, and number two, have the availability to come out and help them. And at least they did that before Google and before things really started moving online. And that's really what's happened, is that the cheese has kind of moved online. Okay, for all intents and purposes, the yellow pages just don't produce consistently and reliably like they used to. People now go online for products and services. And in fact, over 80% of people looking for an HVAC contractor will start their search on Google. Now, there are other popular, less volume sites, including Angie's List, Yelp, YP.com, Home Advisor, Porch, etc. And certainly, these sites get their own traffic, but make no mistake about it, they are also feeding from Google by and large, and getting a representative share of their leads that they're able to sell and different things along those lines from Google. So one way or another, everything, at least in the digital scape, when it comes to HVAC, is being driven, primarily from Google and the other search engines. So to kind of delve in on this a little bit further, one of the key things that that really every HVAC contractor ought to understand is that there's a difference between price shoppers and service shoppers. And you probably already intuitively know this anyway, but when people go online to look for heating and air help, they're generally looking for one of two things. They're looking for the most reputable company to do business with, or the absolute rock bottom cheapest price. Okay, we found that proper placement of our marketing and our advertising ensures that we get the bulk of the first type of customer and not the second. And that's really important. So to kind of give you an example, this is a screenshot of Google search results for the keyword air conditioning West Jordan. This is West Jordan, Utah. And when we talk about service shoppers, okay, what they're generally looking for is established businesses with positive customer feedback. And once they found that business, they pick up the phone to schedule the call. Okay, they call in, exclusively. So as we look at these search results here, we all kind of know, or at least have come to understand at this point, that the most reliable results tend to be in kind of this organic positioning here. We can see that North Star Heating and Air Conditioning is in that position, and then with the advent of reviews and those being tied into maps and different things along those lines. The other major thing that people look at is not only who's on top, but who's got the best reputation. So if we look at Titan Heating and Air, they've got 10 reviews and 4.2 stars. We look at Select Comfort here, they've got 15 and 4.5. North Star has 22 and 5 stars, and so they are getting the bulk of those phone calls in their local area. Okay, people generally skip through these ads up on the top. And we can see Angie's List is advertising deals and quotes to try to get some of those price shoppers in. Okay, even down here below our map sections, we're seeing Home Advisor there in the top organic position. Saying, hey, here's the 23 best air conditioning and HVAC services in West Jordan, and we'll get all of them to call you all at once. Okay. If we then kind of look over at what price shoppers are all about and where do they come from, price shoppers shop around by being matched with several contractors, or frankly just looking for giveaway deals. And one way or another, they tend to be a race to the bottom when it comes to your profit margins. Okay, so as an example, if we go out to Home Advisor and I say, hey, I need air conditioning help, I punch in my zip code. Okay, they're going to turn around and sell my information to half a dozen contractors in the area. I'm going to get a whole bunch of phone calls. And if you're the guy that's calling me, hopefully you get to me first. Okay, but in the case of an installation, you're going to be up against a handful of other people because that's a non-exclusive lead, right? From somebody that's looking for price shopping. Same thing with Angie's List down here in our shopping offers. Okay, we can see we've got a $49 HVAC inspection, $49 for an HVAC service call. So we're cutting our margins basically in half to just try to get a customer through the door. And again, there's that kind of race to the bottom, meaning we're getting customers that just aren't great from a margin perspective, and having to do a lot of work competing with our other competitors in the area anyway from a pricing perspective. So really then when it all boils down to it, there's two important metrics that you really need to keep in mind when you're looking at lead generation, marketing, anything along those lines, right? The number one is the cost per new customer acquisition, meaning what does it cost to get a customer? At the end of the day, forget my price per lead, forget everything else. How much is it costing me to get a customer? Okay. And then the dark horse of that is what's my average ticket price from those actual leads? And this is where a lot of times we see a major difference, if you will, between these kind of shared non-exclusive leads that tend to be a race to the bottom from a margin perspective, and exclusive leads from customers picking up the phone and calling us because they're the only company, or excuse me, we're the only company in the area that they want to do business based on what they've been able to find in different things online. So let's go ahead and take a look at an example of that just to get a little bit more specific. Let's say that we're working with Home Advisor and we get 10 repair leads at $24 a lead, right? So after following up with those kind of cold price shopper leads, you book 3 service calls, bringing your cost per acquisition to $80.33, okay? So by contrast, if I get 10 inbound phone leads at $60 per lead, and because I'm dealing with service shoppers and they've actually called me in my HVAC business, I'm going to book all but probably one of those calls, bringing my CPA to $66.66, roughly about $67. But again, don't forget about your margins. What we've seen over time and on average is that service shoppers tend to gross about 20% higher ticket prices than price shoppers. So even if we win the deal with a price shopper, we're automatically going to take 20% less than what we would if we would have positioned ourselves to get that person picking up the phone and calling us. And more importantly, the service shoppers are the types of clients that tend to be clients for life, and they're going to stick with us for the long term. So really then what we want to know is how do we determine our maximum CPA or cost per acquisition? And there's really three core metrics that you should understand when you look at that, okay? Number one is our average repair job. Okay, and the easy way to figure that out is just take the total revenue generated from repairs, divide it by the total number of jobs that you did in a year, and that's your average repair job, okay? Average install ticket, again, same thing, take the total number of the total revenue that we did on installs divided by the, the total number of jobs that we did to come up with our average, okay? And then our ratio of repairs to retros. And this is something that I think a lot of, certainly smaller HVAC contractors don't really think about. But the way I like to put this is, hey, if 10 new customers book a repair call, what percentage are ultimately going to purchase a new system? Meaning if I go out and, hey, the repair is we've got to fix the coils, it's going to be a $1,200 repair job, to put a new AC in there. You're looking at $4,000, and when you explain to the homeowner that, listen, this thing's 25 years old and you're going to sit and fight an uphill battle every year on this, a decent percentage of those people are going to turn into new systems. And that's a very, very important metric to understand. So what we've seen is that about 15% is the average that we've been told by hundreds of heating and air conditioning contractors around the nation. A lot of aggressive companies, larger companies, will usually shoot for 50 plus percent. So, right, wrong, or otherwise, those are the numbers anyway. And then really the last thing that you might want to consider in here is really what your lifetime customer value is. And this is a little bit more elusive, but on a long enough timeline, every customer is going to need a new system. They're, potentially going to sign up for a maintenance agreement. They're going to do tune-ups. They're going to need, repairs when the system goes down. And by nurturing those customers over time and maintaining clients for life, that really is an important metric to understand. And here's the real reason why, okay? This isn't needed for analyzing the front end of a pay-per-call lead, but all things being equal, the person willing to spend the most to acquire a customer is going to win, okay? And that's really why we want to kind of determine that maximum cost per acquisition. And then the last thing we want to kind of do is discount for the human factor. So even with pay-per-call, not all leads are qualified leads, right? Some people might be calling in looking for, swamp cooler service or something along those lines that you don't do. So that's kind of got to be factored in as well. And if you think back to the last 10 new customer opportunities who picked up the phone and called you, for service, what percentage of those opportunities booked into a service call, okay? And for installs, how many bids did you need to give before you won the job? And then don't let your ego get the best of you here. I mean, you may be an incredible HVAC sales guy and close 100% of every single bid that you ever go out on. But we all know that sometimes you may not. Okay, so just kind of discount that appropriately, and keep that number in mind anyway. But also remember, a qualified call, at least in pay-per-call, isn't qualified until the call duration has gone about 60 to 90 seconds, just depending on on who you're working with there anyway. And what that means is that it's going to give you a lot of time to qualify the lead. And it also gets callers off the phone in 60 seconds or less who need someone there today. When you just don't have the scheduling availability, get to them for a few days or, God forbid, a few weeks. So let's go ahead and look at the numbers. We developed an easy tool to help you analyze, this whole kind of pay-per-call scenario and really just to make sure that it makes sense for your HVAC business. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up right now. And let's just run through a scenario here to kind of get a better sense of how this all looks. So I've found that generally speaking, it's a lot easier to look at your current capacity to do jobs and to try to figure out how many jobs you need to do to hit some, abstract revenue number, right? So with all of that said, the first question that this is going to ask me here is, hey, how many new repair jobs can I handle every week? And we'll just kind of take a small scenario here and assume that I can handle maybe an extra 3 repair jobs a week, okay? And new install jobs I can handle every week. Well, let's see, that's going to take about a day. So let's assume that we can do one of those, okay? So total new jobs that we're going to need every month is actually going to be 13, okay? Now, when we talked about that percentage of your inbound leads that convert to a repair job or an install bid, what we usually see is right around the 85% mark, at least when it comes to inbound leads, okay? And then percentage of your install bids that close into sales, This again, this is where you kind of want to look at your numbers and say realistically, okay, we did, 50 bids in the last 6 months or something. We closed, 40 installs or whatever that number is, and come up with a percentage. But it seems like at least on the inbound leads, at least 50% tends to be that, kind of that number there anyway. So that gives us an idea then that we need, okay, we're going to need about 15 actual repair leads to hit our target jobs for repairs. And we're going to need 7 install leads to hit our target jobs for installs. So now we're going to come in and start, running our numbers here. What we usually see is about the average, repair ticket out there is right in the $350 range. Obviously, full system installs can certainly get up there, well in excess of $7,000 to $8,000. Air conditioning systems on their own could be in the 3 to 5 range. Furnace, a couple thousand to 3,000 to 4,000. So this is why it really makes sense to go through and really look at that average. But on average, what we usually see from most of our contractors is somewhere in the neighborhood of around $4,200 to $5,700. So I'll put in the low side of that, at least for our example. And then this is that ratio of new repair calls that go on to convert into an installation. And this is a really, really important metric, and I'll tell you why. Because again, along those lines of, how much can I realistically afford to pay for a customer, right? And maintain that client for life. This is going to be a very, very big part of determining what that value is. Because when I look at, say, an average repair job of $350, I may not even, be willing to spend much over, $30 or $40, per qualified lead coming through the door, because I'm just not going to make, enough money to justify, a high price, which means I could also be losing a lot of customers. But if we look at the average, and this is what we've seen is 15, and again, some companies are going to do a little bit less than that, that are maybe non-aggressive in terms of, we'll try to fix any system until it's just dead and buried. Where, a lot of your larger companies with, 20, 30 trucks will try to, convert every single one that they can into an install, right? And will sometimes average 40, 50, 60%. So that's really your number. But the most important part of that, though, is that what it does is it changes our adjusted average repair ticket after factoring in for those install conversions. And instead of looking at an average repair ticket now of $350, it's probably more in the neighborhood of $980, which means I can spend more to acquire a customer because I know that it's going to pencil out in terms of return on investment. So going down the line here, if we were looking for another 3, repair jobs a week plus an install job, we know that we're going to probably convert 1 and, maybe 2 in every 20 of those into installs. What that means is that based off of those numbers, I'm looking at probably around 12, 13,000 in repairs, okay, and actual revenue that comes from repairs, as well as those repair jobs that convert into installations. From the install calls themselves specifically, I'm probably looking somewhere in the neighborhood of around 14,000 for total monthly revenue of 27,000 and estimated annual revenue of, right above $300,000 anyway. If we come down here to our maximum cost per call for repair leads, this is really what our cost per acquisition essentially then becomes, and it's actually a little bit higher than that, but we've already discounted down up here at least, for the percentage of leads that just aren't going to convert, okay? And then we've also discounted on our install side the percentage of bids that we go on that aren't going to ultimately decide to do business with us, or at least, we've got that at 50% here. So these are already adjusted and realistically our maximum CPA. So when we look at our maximum cost per call then for repair leads, that puts us up to about $85 and really should be, the threshold that we're willing to spend to acquire a new customer on the repair side of things, okay? And it also accounts for the fact that we're assuming a certain percentage of installation activity is going to happen out of that. When we look at our install lead side, obviously we've got a higher ticket price there. And so really our maximum cost per call on the install leads is around $210. And we would estimate that all in all, the monthly cost of this campaign is going to be right in the $2,700 range. And all things being equal, when you're looking at, say, these shared leads type environment, Home Advisor, some of these other companies are going to make a lot of their money by taking that same $25 lead and reselling it 5, 6, 7 times. In the exclusive side of this, when it comes to actual calls, because that is an exclusive lead, obviously they are going to be generally more expensive because they're going to convert higher, and you're really the only contractor that has the opportunity to take that lead and close the sale. So realistically, on the on the pay per call side of things, on the exclusive lead side of things, most lead generators out there are usually looking for around 10% of the expected revenue that are going to come from those from those calls anyway. So if you do know your margin numbers, obviously this has all been focused on the front end as we've gotten through all of this information here. But let's assume here for a minute that my average, profit margin is somewhere in the neighborhood of 30%, right? I mean, I'm not taking every, last dime of revenue out of the business that goes right into the hip pocket through my K1. But, hey, we've got an established company. We are building profits. We know what that margin is. And so if I kick that in here, then this is going to tell me, okay, so we're making $27,000 in revenue from this campaign. But the expected monthly profit is probably going to be somewhere around 7,300. Expected annual profit, 88,000. And for every dollar that we put into buying pay-per-call leads, we're going to get roughly about $2.70 back, $3 back, and roughly about a 3-to-1 return from a profit perspective. And this spreadsheet is really just set up to where you can enter in your numbers, figure out your own volumes there, put in your own average tickets, your average install tickets, that sort of thing, and really just play around with this and figure out what the demands are for your business, and whether or not the return on investment here, both on the front end and on the back end, would really make sense for you. So anyway, I'm Adam Loveridge with Job Calls. I hope that this presentation has been helpful, and that the this deal analyzer itself is a valuable tool. You can actually download that for free from our website. You can also go ahead and give us a call, or for that matter, schedule a meeting, kind of a fact-finding meeting here, if you will, and consult with me or another member of my team if you are interested in looking at whether or not pay-per-call leads would make sense for your business and to help you meet your growth goals. So thanks again for watching, and I look forward to catching you the next time around.